We're now going to move to Articles number 23, 24, and 25. These are the articles that were sponsored by the Planning Board, all having to do with zoning. All three of them require a two-thirds majority vote in order to be passed. And I will turn to Warrant Committee Member Newton Thompson for a motion on Article number 23.
Move that Article 23 be passed as printed in the warrant.
Okay, and do you have a report?
Would you like me to read the article?
No.
Okay. This article is in 5 parts, the first of which creates a new zoning map overlay district that reverts zoning requirements to the pre-2017 permitting processes and dimensional requirements for multifamily developments, but does not apply to new single-family or two-family dwellings in the USSOD district. The second section of the article would amend the table of use regulations to allow multifamily residential developments by site plan approval from the Planning Board in the RU zoning district as long as they are shown in the Upper Spring Street overlay district. The third section of the article would amend the table of area regulations to allow multifamily residential developments in the RU zoning district as long as they are shown in the Upper Spring Street overlay district. The fourth section of the article proposes new review criteria that the Planning Board would use when reviewing new applications for multifamily developments, which are consistent with the Planning Board's special permit performance standards. The fifth and final section of the article amends the existing inclusionary zoning bylaw to include multifamily proposals in the Upper Spring Street overlay district so that there is an affordable component. The Warrant Committee recommends passage.
Thank you. And do we have a report from the Planning Board? Teresa?
Hi, Teresa James from the Planning Board. As the Warrant Committee presented, pursuant to the, regarding Article 23, which is for the Upper Spring Street Overlay District, that pursuant to the provisions of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, as amended, the Medfield Planning Board held a series of public meetings on December 3rd, 2018, January 7th, 2019, and February 4th, 2019, to consider amending the Town of Medfield zoning bylaw as set out in Article 23. The public hearing for the first 4 parts of this article was duly posted and advertised in the Medfield Press on November 16th and 23rd of 2018, and the public hearing for the last section of the article was duly posted and advertised in the Medfield Press on December 14th and 21st, 2018. This article is a package of amendments related to the multifamily residential dwellings in that portion of the RU district along Spring Street between Old Village Square and Baxter Park. As you walked in the building, I hope you saw there was a handout, but there is a nice little map, but that's what we're talking about as the Upper Spring Street Overlay District. And the first 3 sections of this warrant article restores the bulk and dimensional controls for that small area of town that were in place prior to the 2017 zoning changes that we made that were instituted to reduce the amount of multifamily dwellings in the RU district. If you remember in 2017, we came as a town after doing intense study and looking at the RU district and made some adjustments there. The 4th section of the article, though, proposes an additional layer of review not found in the pre-2017 process, whereby the Planning Board is now proposing additional site plan review criteria to incentivize better submissions, and the final portion of that article amends the existing exclusionary zoning provision to include that Upper Spring Street area. And as a whole, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend this passage.
Thank you. Teresa, why don't you stay right there for these articles, okay, in case there are any questions. Are there any questions for the Planning Board or any comments from the floor? If you would approach microphone number 1, please.
I just have a quick question,
I forgot to say this. Do you mind just saying your name and your address?
Martha Weintraub, 18 Arnold Drive. So I just have a quick question about the map. It's just the shaded in area you're talking about for the article, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's it.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If there are none, we'll please, microphone number 1.
Deb Merriam, 70 Spring Street. Also, my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather attended town meeting in the 1700s here.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think it's an awesome thing that we are allowed to do this. So I'm in that overlay district. And so what I'd like to make sure that people understand that when this overlay goes through, it will allow us as a town to ask for grant money that we can't get otherwise. And the reason for that is that this overlay district will require that 1 out of every 6 units be inclusionary housing, which has not existed before. So that actually increases the opportunity for us to be able to get some grants. And I think that some of them priority to access to other grants, such as funding sources that are critical to many of the forthcoming projects. Medfield, Mass-to-Meet, in order for us to continue with not worrying so much about larger inclusionary projects going through, we have to meet at least 4 out of 9 of the best practices in development of our town. This overlay allows us to get the 4th one. We only have 3. So this overlay would allow us to be able to get the 4th best practice. The planning board has a much stronger review criteria for this time. And I think that there's been maybe a little bit of conversation that it would cause twice as many houses to be developed as there were in the 2017. But my little strip of land actually changes from 4 to 5. So we're not talking about a huge change in terms of development, but it will, just the overlay without any development happening. I've been in my house for 43 years. I'm not going anywhere. The Hazers next door have been in their house for more than 5 decades. They're not going anywhere. The Hinckleys, beyond them, the house belonged to both Chris Hazer and Nancy Hinckley. They were born and brought up in that house. They're not going anywhere. So we're advocating for this to pass so that we can actually meet the criteria for inclusionary housing and make us eligible for grants. Thank you.
Neil, thank you for that explanation. Microphone number 2.
Yep. Chris Potts on 7 Curve Street. I was disappointed on the dates for the public hearing for this particular proposal just because I just didn't work. I had conflicts those nights. But I was heavily involved with the discussions and the meetings that led to the 2017 vote to reduce the change to the bylaw in the RU district. And as a Curve Street resident on a very historic street off of the south side of Spring Street of Route 27 that is equally historic, I have a lot of concerns about the north section of Route 27 becoming a lot more dense. We are dealing with tremendous traffic problems as it is on Curve Street and also on South Street, and with more development on the northern part of 27 leading into the center of town, it causes a lot of concern for me. In particular, in these meetings that led to the last change in the zoning in 2017, listening to the comments of the residents who live in the section that is affected by this overlay district, they were the ones, there was a core group of residents from that section that really fought that 2017 change. And now I feel like this change today that's being proposed reverses a lot of good that was done by that committee, that there was a lot of thought, a lot of research, and a lot of effort into that. And I'm very concerned about the overdevelopment and the multifamily housing that's going to create a lot more problems and a lot more density than we really need in that section. So I'm against it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Does anybody want to address that? Any other further comments? Okay, we'll put it to a vote. It does require a 2/3 vote. It's a motion to create a new zoning overlay district called the proposed Upper Spring Street Overlay District. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? If I could have a show of hands, please. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? I'm going to deem it does pass by the 2/3 required. Efficiency and deliberate dispatch by acting upon certain articles as a group. For reference, you can look to pages 18 and 19 of the report of the warrant.